Hey guys, my name is Jen, and as part of my follow-on project for the Gilman Scholarship Program, I'm going to be building my Japanese dorm in The Sims today. From September of 2019 to March of this year, 2020, I was studying abroad in Nagasaki, Japan, and even though my program got canceled, it was still a really great time. And I really enjoyed living in the dorms at my university. So I really thought it would be a fun idea to build the dorms and show everybody on The Sims. I'm certainly not a builder in The Sims. I really haven't built a lot at all, so you might see some stuff where you're like, why are you doing this? Or why aren't you doing this? Because I don't really know a lot of the shortcuts and I really don't know what I'm doing at all. Um, Actually, I was a console player on The Sims for a really long time, so I don't really know what in the world I'm doing on the PC at all. And I don't have every pack. Most of the packs that I got as gifts pretty recently. So yeah, it's kind of just all over the place, but I think I did a pretty good job at least showing what it looks like. So there's that. The sizing right now is a little weird. I do change it up a couple different times because right now it's pretty big. The rooms were a bit thinner and a bit shorter than this, but it's one of those things where if you don't start, you don't really know how it's going to turn out. You don't really know what it's going to look like until you start doing it, and then you're like, no, that's not right. So, but especially with The Sims, it's kind of weird because the proportions in The Sims are a little weird. So when you're trying to build a real building in The Sims, some things are just like a little strange or a little off. Like the toilet in that room, it feels a little big to be like a 2-tile wide bathroom. But if I did 1 tile wide, it would have felt a little too small. So it's just kind of things like that, where it's like, well, it wasn't quite this big, but it wouldn't have been that small either. So I just had to go for like, I had to choose one or the other. So I chose that one. But I do kind of make the rooms a little bit smaller, so that it's a little closer to what it actually was. And right now I have the fridge and the microwave. The room did not come with a fridge and a microwave. I actually bought that myself. I bought a fridge, a small fridge, and a toaster oven. Instead of a microwave, I bought a toaster oven, but obviously in The Sims they don't really have toaster ovens. So yeah, I just kind of went with the microwave to represent my toaster oven that I bought. We actually had a stove as well. We had like an electric hot plate, but in The Sims they don't really have that, so I didn't end up putting anything to represent a stove. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that in American dorms you're not allowed to have stoves. I'm not sure because I've never lived in an American dorm before, but we did have electric stoves, like little hot plates that used a special type of pot to cook with. It's really hard to explain. We also had these types of beds that had like the little drawers underneath. Um, in The Sims, these beds kind of feel a little small. I feel like the real beds were a little bit bigger, but the double beds in The Sims would have been too big. So just like imagine that there's a happy medium there somewhere. Yeah, so the dorm came with like the bed, it came with the hot plate, it came with a computer chair and a desk, but it did not come with like this bookshelf. I actually bought a really cheap bookshelf myself because I was buying books. And my room did come with like a computer chair. It wasn't quite as big as that one, but it was like a plastic computer chair with like a soft seat, which was actually kind of weird because like most of the other rooms had like a wooden computer chair that was not very comfortable to sit in at all. So I think that maybe the person who previously lived in my room, maybe they got rid of that, or maybe it broke and they replaced it with that one. So I was kind of lucky in that respect because my desk chair was pretty comfy to sit in. We also did not have like the washing machine like I just placed down, but we had a place for a washing machine because they were basically little small apartments. So I kind of just put the washing machine there as wish fulfillment, and I also put the trash can there because that's where I actually kept my trash can because I didn't have a washing machine, so I just put my trash can there instead. But yeah, that's another one of those places where it wasn't quite that big, but if it was any smaller, it would have been like a little bit too small. I don't know. It was kind of weird. And also the way the Sims works, like lighting and everything doesn't quite reach everywhere it would have actually reached in real life. So I didn't have quite this many lights in that one hallway space. But if I didn't have that many lights in the build, it would have looked kind of weird. But yeah. So obviously all the rooms in the dorm were pretty used. But I thought that it was a little bit too much to put like the dirty city living wallpaper there, so I changed it out for the pretty one. And the balconies are another example of where I was like, I don't know how big to make this because I can't really grasp how big it was to build in The Sims. But there were like some pretty big, like some pretty thick columns in between each balcony anyways, so it was kind of like, well, maybe there was that much space. I don't know. And then like the whole building was just kind of concrete. It was dark concrete. It doesn't really quite match where I'm building, but I wanted it to be high up because it was a pretty tall building. It was over 7 floors, I think. Yeah, so I lived on the 5th floor. And then we had like our little laundry space out there. Where I dried most of my laundry. I hung it up myself and it was very nice. And we had those, they were kind of like square lighting in the bedroom as well. It had like 3 different lighting settings and stuff like that. I usually didn't use the overhead light. I used my little desk lamp that I liked. The doors as well, they were definitely like a type of dark metal, but they didn't have like those stickers and stuff and like the tape and stuff, so I kind of just changed it to the lighter one, so it was just like the building map. It was a little bit more appropriate for what the room actually had. I'm just placing a little bit of extra stuff. I bought so many books while I was in Japan. I bought enough books to warrant buying a bookshelf, so, but it was a cheap bookshelf. It was like $15, but it was really nice. Anyways, so yeah, this one is just supposed to kind of represent my own room. So I'm trying to put like the stuff that I had in my room as well. I had this little table. It wasn't this tall. It was basically a little table that I could sit on the floor and eat with. So it was very close to the floor, but it was just like this tiny round table. I wanted to represent it in some way. Yeah. And then I had decorations on my wall, and obviously again, in The Sims, we don't have like the exact same decorations that we would have in real life, so I was just kind of trying to find something that would represent that. I really enjoyed living in this room. It was just a really nice space for me. I'm already looking back on it as like a really nice time in my life. So, when it's possible again, which hopefully it will be soon, I would really recommend that everybody try to study abroad. I know that like money is usually a huge issue, and that's why I really recommend looking into scholarships like the Gilman Scholarship. I did not think that I was going to be able to get it, but I did, and it really helped me out. So, if you guys want to study abroad, I really recommend looking into it. Oh, and the bathroom door as well. That is a glass door. We had a glass door, but it was more of like a frosted glass, obviously. So, yeah, I had to represent the glass door, but it kind of looks weird because it's not a frosted glass. So, it is a little weird, but just understand what it's supposed to be and not what it actually is, which is kind of weird. Yeah. um, I'm just, yeah, I couldn't really find a lot of clutter to look like the clutter that I had. Um, but yeah, the room is it just kind of looked like this. I had more stuff in it, but there's not like a lot to do to represent that in The Sims at the at least as far as I could find. But I thought it would be kind of a cool idea to also build the laundry room, because we had like a shared laundry room on the 6th floor for the women in the dorm, and I had some extra space over here, so I was just like, well, I'll just put the laundry room in there because I spent enough time in there. I spent enough time washing my clothes. Very interesting. But yeah, I also copied the dorms, the rest of the rooms in over there to the side. The way the rooms worked was like basically the the bathroom and like the kitchen, like they switched sides. They like alternated sides. So like one side would be like the bathroom would be to the right and the kitchen would be to the left, and then in a different room it would be the opposite. So I kind of tried to represent that. Um, I think that we'll be able to see that in like the screenshots later. Yeah. So, the way the laundries worked in the dorm was basically they were coin laundries. For the washing machine, it was 100 yen just for like one go. And then for the dryer, it was 100 yen for, I think, 60 minutes. I think it was 60 minutes. But most of the time, most of the time, the laundry and the dryer would not dry in 60 minutes. So you kind of had to use 200 yen to get like 2 hours out of it. So that was kind of why I mostly hung up my laundry, unless like sometimes during the winter it would take too long and I would have to dry a couple of things. But I mostly tried to avoid that because the dryers are just not good for clothes in general most of the time. So it's if you want to preserve your clothes, it actually works out to hang them up to dry, kind of. But yeah. I really enjoyed living in a dorm. I loved it. I loved studying abroad. It was really everything that I hoped it would be. I met so many great people, and living on my own, it was my first time living on my own. So it was just a really great experience because I didn't have a roommate. So it was basically like I was just living in my own little apartment for the first time. And I really enjoyed that. This little balcony, I'm not sure if it actually existed. I feel like there was a door to something in that room, and I can't remember. So I just made this tiny little balcony for no reason. And all this laundry stuff that just kind of laid around. There were just bottles and like a couple different buckets of things that existed in that laundry room, but I'm not sure, so I just put it there. It exists. But yeah, so I really do recommend studying abroad. I know that it's kind of weird right now. I definitely know because obviously my program was canceled, so that was kind of it was what it was. But it's as good a time as any to try to plan ahead if possible and try to look into scholarships and try to just think of what you're going to be able to do when you're able to do things again. So I would really recommend taking the time to plan as much as possible. You can see here that the rooms are kind of alternating the sides. The rest of the rooms, oh, the desks as well, I think you'll be able to see in the screenshots later, but the desks, most of the desks were also like a dark wood, whereas mine was a light wood. So yeah, my room just had a couple different things that were different from all of the other rooms. But again, this was part of my follow-on project for the Gilman Scholarship Program, and if at all possible, I would really recommend looking them up, checking them out, and trying to get interested in studying abroad. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and see you again soon.